Hello everyone. I want to start out today's video with this. Today's video is going to be the one that will give you horrible feelings. I want to start out by saying that I try not to give recognition to the evil and depraved people that I will be featuring throughout this channel. I want to focus more on the victims. So starting out on the very first episode, I'll make it as equal as possible. Thank you for watching and giving me the opportunity for sharing this with you.
Okay, Dad, that's enough. Throw the pen at you. Stop it.
It is the story and the teenage girl Minnesotans just will never forget.
On May 26, 1999, 19-year-old Katie Elizabeth Porier went missing from DJ's Expressway Conoco convenience store in Moose Lake, Minnesota, where she worked nights as a clerk. A passerby who noticed that there was no attendant present in the store reported the incident. A grainy black and white surveillance video showed Porier being forced out of the store around 11:40 p.m. by a man wearing jeans, a backwards baseball cap, and a New York Yankees baseball jersey with the number 23. The man's hand was at the back of Porier's neck, and from the way she touched her throat, there might have been a cord tied around her neck. The video was then sent to imaging specialists at NASA, who were able to enhance the image so more details of the suspect could be seen. The police estimated that the abductor was 5'10" and weighed around 170 pounds, had long, light-colored hair, and appeared to be around 25 years old. Witnesses then reported that they had seen a black pickup truck circling the area around the convenience store that evening. One of the witnesses gave a partial license plate number. Another witness reported seeing a suspicious man leering at a female passerby outside a Subway restaurant in the same building. The suspect was allegedly driving the same black pickup truck other witnesses had described. Based on this and three other witness statements, a composite sketch of the abductor was broadcast by local media. So now we're going to be talking about this man, the man named Donald Blom. Blom was soon investigated because his truck matched the surveillance footage. Blom was working at the Minnesota Veterans Home under the name Donald Hutchinson prior to Porier's death. On June 18th, his former coworker Daryl Brown called the police tip line and said Donald Hutchinson looked pretty similar to the man in the composite sketch provided by the police. Brown said Hutchinson was absent on the day of Porier's abduction, had recently cut his hair, and stopped driving his black pickup truck without notice and quit his job as a janitor. Blom owned a 20-acre property in Moose Lake, 12 miles from the convenience store from which Porier was abducted. Investigators learned of Blom's prior convictions for abducting 7 young girls. They also learned that Blom's neighbors that Blom spent a lot of time at the property before Porier's abduction, but hadn't been there since. Blom was spending time with his family at a campground 140 miles from his home in Richfield, Minnesota, when initially questioned by agents from Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension on June 22nd. He was arrested later that day while driving home. Blom was friendly and cooperative, but refused to give a statement and requested an attorney. He was initially held in a county facility, but was placed in solitary confinement after his plans to escape the facility were soon discovered. Investigators obtained search warrants and searched Blom's Richfield residence at Moose Lake property. The search in Moose Lake was supported by 100 National Guardsmen and several hundred local volunteers who were initially unable to find any trace of Porier. They did find some firearms, though, which Blom was not allowed to carry given his prior convictions. On the second day of the search, investigators found that what appeared to be bone fragments in a fire pit on Blom's property. The fragments were sent to a lab where they were identified as a human bone and charred portion of a human tooth. DNA tests proved inconclusive, but an examination by dental experts established that the filling on this tooth matched that of a very rare filling material used by Porier's dentist. The examination showed the tooth belonged to a young female and was likely Porier's. On September 8th, Blom confessed to abducting Porier, strangling her, burning her body in the fire pit on his Moose Lake property, an account which was somewhat inconsistent with the evidence. Surveillance video from the convenience store showed a man with his hand on the back of the neck. Blom stated that he walked out of the store with Porier and said she asked him to let her go several times. but did not fight with him until he started choking her at his property. Blom also said that he killed Porier with his bare hands and burned her body with wood and paper. According to the investigators, wood and paper alone would not have been sufficient enough to reduce a human body to ash. Blom denied sexually assaulting Porier and said he did not know why he had. They asked him, well, what else could it be? He said, well, I don't know. He just didn't seem to answer the question. His only response was, I kept on asking myself that, man. Of his solitary confinement and hallucinations due to 10 medications had prompted him to make a false confession. With this case being the most well-known case of his, there has been a couple more prior to this incident. In 1975, Blom kidnapped a 14-year-old girl, gagged her, and raped her. He locked her in his car trunk but managed to escape and turn him in. Blom was tried and convicted in 1978. He committed aggravated assault. In 1983, he would be arrested for criminal sexual conduct. The same year, he threatened 2 teenage girls at knife point in a remote area, tied them to a tree, and put socks in their mouths. He choked and revived one of them several times and said he was going to rape them. The girls were rescued when a police officer saw their car parked the wrong way and investigated. Blom fled into the woods and later changed his appearance by dyeing his hair. He was arrested 2 months later when one of the girls recognized him. He then pleaded guilty to the crime. During an examination in 1992, a psychologist predicted that if Blom was not closely monitored, he would probably engage in additional antisocial behavior. However, Blom managed to change his name, get a job, and get married. By May 1999, he had 6 felony convictions, 5 of which involved kidnapping and sexual assault.
Her killer, Donald Blom, is one of the most notorious criminals in Minnesota history. He was sentenced to life with no parole.
The jury found Donald Blom guilty. Now the system cannot fail another family again.
In 19 years on this earth, kidnapped from the convenience store where she was working and later killed. But in those 19 years, she packed in more living and love than most people would enjoy much longer in their lifetime. Katie was an honor roll student, band musician, and key club member at the Barnum High School in Barnum Township, Minnesota. In 1997, she was named first runner-up for Miss Barnum. She went on to attend Fond du Lac Community College. She was the fiancée of Mark Johnson. Among her many interests were water skiing, fishing, the Green Bay Packers, and Days of Our Lives, and her beloved dogs, Goldie and Riley. Katie had a huge smile and simply loved life and everyone in it. Forever be remembered, and she will always be a precious part of everyone who was fortunate enough to know her.